The White House is considering releasing testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, an associate of disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. She is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking underage girls. But if the testimony is released, it could give new life to a story President Trump wants to die. It's a dilemma the Hill's Brett Samuels calls Trump's Ghislaine Maxwell problem. Brett joins us to discuss. So Brett, Todd Blanch, the number 2 at DOJ, met with Maxwell over 2 days late last month at a federal prison in Tallahassee. The White House now considering releasing audio or transcripts from the interview. What's the holdup?
Yeah, it seems to be, Drew, this sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for the White House and for President Trump, where releasing the audio or the transcripts of this conversation that Todd Blanch had with Ghislaine Maxwell. On the one hand, it would be a show of transparency about this investigation. Apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell didn't say anything that would be harmful to Trump personally, so. There's the benefit there. It could satisfy some folks who are calling for more information, more transparency around the Epstein case. On the other hand, it comes at a time where during August recess, lawmakers are out of town. It seems like some of the uproar around the Epstein situation and the calls for more documents to be released has sort of faded into the background. So releasing the transcript and the audio could just kind of resurface that, lead to more questions about why certain audio or transcripts were released and why others weren't, and so on. So it seems like the Trump administration is sort of weighing its options here about the best path forward.
2 days seems like a long time for 2 individuals to discuss a case like this. Do we have any idea what Maxwell told Blanch?
Yeah, all we really have heard so far is that she didn't say anything that would be harmful to President Trump, that she didn't say that he did anything untoward or illegal in her presence, which is, again, pretty limited scope for what was a 9-hour interview. Of course, there are skeptics of this whole setup where they point out that Todd Blanch was, of course, President Trump's personal attorney before he was nominated to be the deputy attorney general. Todd Blanch also has a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney, so there are some conflicts there potentially that have raised some eyebrows. But Trump, when asked about this, has said that he doesn't know what they talked about, that he hasn't spoken to Todd Blanch about it, but has also simultaneously defended Blanch and said that any conversation would be above board and that he would approve of it. So again, it's all a little vague and murky, but it's just kind of fueling some of the questions around this whole setup.
Maxwell also moved to a lesser security prison after she gave this interview with Blanch, where she allegedly said cleared Trump's name, which also raises eyebrows. Will the release of this information quell the Epstein truthers out there who do constitute a very vocal faction of the base of the Republican Party? They have been pressing elected Republicans to release more information. Would this release possibly quench their thirst, or could it just lead to more demands for the release of further information? We also have all this grand jury testimony that we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah, Drew, I think, personally, I'm skeptical that this kind of interview or the transcript of this interview would actually satisfy everyone in this case. Time and again, we've seen whenever more information comes out or whenever the FBI or Department of Justice puts out a statement, as we saw last month, where they declared that there was no client list for Jeffrey Epstein. Even though these are Trump officials putting out these announcements, it's not enough to satisfy parts of the base. They feel like that's just evidence, more evidence of a cover up, or that something's being hidden from them, or that essentially the conspiracy just goes deeper than previously thought. So until there's some kind of smoking gun that seems to implicate someone that these folks have alleged was involved in wrongdoing with Epstein, it seems like they're just going to continue to be asking for more information and more information, even when the Trump administration has said there is certain information that they just can't disclose.
What's the latest on that grand jury testimony from the Maxwell case? Trump said the DOJ should release it. Maxwell's lawyers are arguing against that, but it seems unclear exactly what the DOJ wants the judge in the case to do.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a murky situation, I think, to say the least. We saw, as you mentioned, President Trump had publicly called for the Department of Justice to push for the release of some of these transcripts, some of this grand jury information. Initial batches that were released didn't seem to satisfy what people were looking for. It was older content, as you mentioned. Ghislaine Maxwell's attorney is pushing against the release of more of these grand jury files. So we're all in kind of wait and see mode, I think, to see a couple things, whether the judge actually releases more or unseals some of this grand jury information. We're waiting to see what exactly the DOJ does as far as what specifically they ask for, how aggressively they push for this information. But again, I think it just feeds into this whole conundrum of how much will the Trump administration push to release more information? What information will they actually put out there? And how much will that information actually satisfy some of the folks, even within Trump's base, who have been calling for more information to be put out there?
And DOJ already tamping down expectations for the release of that grand jury information, saying a lot of it is already in public view. We'll leave it at that. Brett Samuels, thanks so much for your insight.
Thanks, Drew.